Happy Monday. So we're coming up on the end of 2024. And I'm just sitting here reflecting on how this last year has been. And as I'm going through and just kind of looking back at everything that's happened over the last year, the highs, the lows, the chaos, it is reminding me of how chaotic this holiday has been. Not only how chaotic this holiday has been, but you know, I was right here reflecting on this last year and was going to start doing some journaling, and then I was going to work on some content. And I started thinking about, man, how how much of a shit show some things were. We know that during the holidays it's supposed to be very peaceful and joyous and full of happy memories, but how many of you can relate that sometimes the holidays are so stressful that you just want to run away or want to cancel them? I know for me, when I started thinking about even just something as simple as Thanksgiving and the preparation and the cleaning that went into it and coordinating the food and who's invited, who's not invited, and the egos start flaring. Oh well, I don't want this person to come, and this person can come, but their significant other can't come, and that's the kind of shit that happens during the holidays. This chaos, and I'm going to just put it out to all of you and say, how have your holidays been for 2024? How was Thanksgiving? And better yet, how was Christmas? Did you experience some of the similar things that I experienced? And I know tensions ran very, very high during the holidays. Oh my gosh. Thanksgiving was just the start of it. And by the time we got to Christmas, oh my gosh, it was, beyond chaotic. But what are you guys doing, or what did you do to minimize that chaos? Or better yet, what are you doing for 2025 to minimize that chaos? For me, I personally want to cancel the holidays and just go on vacation and, family, kids, and so forth, and just honestly get the hell out of here and not even put up with all the BS that happened. And it's not just 2024, but it seems like every year it just gets more and more chaotic. And are you experiencing the same thing, or is this just happening in my household? Because I know in talking to a lot of other people in my different circles, they're feeling the same way. So, yeah, that's what I'm gibbering and jabbering about. And then, well, we have one more holiday, New Year's, right? New Year's Eve coming up tomorrow, and I've decided to bypass that and gonna work instead. And no more festivities for me. I'm done for 2024. Looking forward to the new year and what lies ahead. And I kid you not, I'm going to look at every festivity and family gathering and see what I can do to either minimize my participation or definitely going to do my best to not host any holiday festivities for 2025. And if I can pawn them off or just cancel them, that's what I'm going to do. But what do you guys think? Feel free to comment or share, and I'll even be happy to answer any questions that you have about, how you're feeling with the holidays that have happened over the last year. And, also as I'm kind of going through and kind of figuring out, okay, what content do I want to put out for this year, for 2025? I know for those of you that follow, a big part of this journey for Fatherhood Voices has been just finding ways to better create relationships with fathers and their children. And I wish I could say I had it all figured out, but yeah, I don't. It's been a work in progress. And something that did happen is I did write a book this year, and I'm going to grab it right now. It's right under the counter. And with that, if you're interested, it's a book called Healing the Inner Brat or Healing the Inner Child. And hopefully it'll come flying over to me right now. If I raise my hand, the book will fly to me. If I raise my hand, the book will fly to me. And then I can show it. But you can get it on Amazon. And this was a book that took me about a year to write. And it was very interesting because it takes you on a journey of what I went through and just the highs and lows of how your inner child can impact you. And it's right here. It's called Healing the Inner Brat. So that's my cheap plug for this video. And you can get on Amazon. And it's a journey from trauma to triumph. So if you get a chance, I would encourage you to get this book. Not only because I wrote it, but it's actually pretty good. You know, I'm going to pat myself on the back and say that everybody that's had a chance to go through it, it takes you on a very interesting journey because it forces you to reflect on your childhood. And I know one of the things that I share in here is where my journey started with gangs. And a lot of people think, you know, that, you know, people that join a gang or become bullies do it because that's just kind of like in their DNA. But for me dabbling into a street gang had to do more with being bullied in 8th grade by one person. And it was one person, that motherfucker. He really tormented me. And you know, the funny thing is, when I look back, I probably could have beat him up, you know, not condoning violence. But yeah, in this case, yeah, I probably should have fought back. But he got so into my mind psychologically that he kind of created that kind of scared inner child. And from that point, I tolerated it. And then when we moved and went to another area, first thing is like, yeah, I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to be that scared child and go through what I went through for that. It was only a 2-month period. And yeah, so that, my high school years led into joining the street gang. And from there it was chaos. And I guess the question I'll pose to all of you is, what is one thing that has happened in your childhood that caused you to maybe veer in a different direction? Whether it was a street gang, whether it was drugs. You know, I've talked to a lot of women as I've started to coach, you know, not only men but women, but a lot of women that use their body as a tool. They use their body as a tool to feel worthy or to feel loved. And, you know, we all go through these struggles, you know, men and women. And there's different outlets that end up happening. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, when I wrote this book, Healing the Inner Child / Brat, what came up was how much, you know, let me put it a different way. If you've ever gone to therapy, the first thing they ask you is, okay, tell me about your upbringing. Tell me about how your childhood was. Everything goes back to your childhood. So whether it's therapy or if you dabble with even deep meditation, plant medicine, stuff like that, integration always goes back to your inner child. It goes back to, why do you feel unworthy? Why do you feel like you're not loved? Why do you feel shame, resentment, guilt? It all stems back to your inner child. It all stems back to trauma points that happened as a child. You know, I always go back to this story of a good friend of mine. And this friend of mine, he stuttered. He stuttered most of his life. And it started at the age of 10. And I remember we were in a deep meditation ceremony. and he was going through some real challenges, a lot of darkness, a lot of heaviness. And in this deep meditation ceremony, all of a sudden he had this epiphany, epiphany of what happened to him as a child. And basically what happened was when he was 10 years old, his aunt had come over and said, hey, how are you feeling? How have you been? And he said, oh, I'm sad. I don't feel good. I feel very unhappy. And my friend's mom scolded him and yelled at him, because the dad wasn't present in his life. She, made him go to his room and shamed him. And basically what she did was she closed his voice so he no longer felt the need to be able to express himself. And from that point forward, from the time he was 10, all the way into his teenage years, into young adulthood, and even into mature adulthood, he stuttered. And you would talk to him and you'd be like, hey, how are you doing? And he struggled and he got stuck with how to articulate what he was trying to say. But that came from his mother scolding him that one time and making him feel embarrassed and shamed because as a little 10-year-old, he just felt he didn't feel happy. And in this deep meditation, we were able to go deep in and unravel that. And he was able to purge that out. And he was vomiting it and realizing, like, I remember in that moment, he's like, communication, voice. And then from that point forward, all of a sudden he says, oh my gosh, I know why I started. Now, here's a kicker. From that day forward, he has never stuttered. But in that moment, he was able to connect the dots. And he was able to realize that by his mom silencing him when he was 10 years old, she traumatized him. And because of that inner child inside just closed up, and then he developed that stutter. And I'm just thinking about this, and it's like, what have you experienced in life that has traumatized you as a child? What have you experienced that has silenced you? I work with a lot of people that have dealt with sexual trauma. And man, I didn't realize how common molestation was for so many people. It's actually pretty scary when you think about the numbers. I think the last statistics I seen was 6 out of 10, 6 out of every 10 people have experienced some sort of sexual trauma. And how has that impacted you if you've gone through that? How has that impacted relationships? Has that sabotaged them? Have you used your body as a tool to seek out validation? And I'm just skimming on the surface of different things, but as I start to close this out, I encourage you, if you get the opportunity, to go to Amazon and order this book, Healing the Inner Brat. It's about healing the inner child. And I guarantee you, you read this book, it's going to have you in tears. There's going to be a lot of laughter, but there's going to be a lot of tears too. Because this isn't a book that you're going to read real fast. This is a book that's going to force you to self-reflect. It's going to force you to, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to drum up a lot of trauma and a lot of memories that maybe you've suppressed or you've tried to forget about. And I think for 2025, this is definitely a read that you should explore. And even if not this book, then get some book that's going to force you to deal with your inner child. My tagline for Fatherhood Voices is, I help men become better fathers by healing their inner child. And that's what this book is about. It's about healing that inner brat inside of you. It's about how, as children, the choices we make as adults happen because of the shit that's happened in our lives, because of the stuff that's happened to us, trauma and hurt and pain and shame. Yeah, don't get me started on a tangent because YouTube will probably censor me and ban me because my potty mouth may kick in. But my question to you all pose as I start to wind this up and wrap it up, whatever you call it. What's one thing that you've experienced in life in your childhood that has continued to follow you into adulthood? Pain, memory, or issue is now carrying on into your adulthood, and not only into adulthood, but it's showing up in your relationships, or even it's showing up in your relationships with your children. And with that, have an amazing pre-New Year's Eve. As we come up on New Year's Eve tomorrow, have a lot of patience. If you do drink, don't drink and drive. And what's the billboards that are coming up? Buzz driving is drunk driving. So make sure that you're safe out there, because one poor decision can impact not only your life but the life of all those around you that love you. With that, thank you for staying with me and listening to me babble on about 2024. And have a great rest of your pre-New Year's Eve.